Guys, welcome back to another episode of UnMotivated, where we try to find a motivation every day to keep going. Today, we're going to talk about making that first dollar. You know, what's it like coming from being I won't say a nobody, but having nothing to still having nothing. Because if you've ever been an entrepreneur or did something, it's like you make money only to pay for more things. So every time you think you get ahead, if something comes up and the business needs this, and you never really get ahead until you get the business solidified. So we got Jamarcus on the mic today, and we definitely got my guy Maul here with me, who's a co-host of this particular episode. Now, Maul, you played professional basketball. Mm-hmm. Did you have any jobs before you went to, overseas?
Yeah. I worked a couple jobs. I worked at a CVS before. Shit, yeah, I was grinding, man, trying to figure it out. Worked for my uncle a lot of time. My uncle was a low-key... he wouldn't consider himself a real estate mogul, but he done pretty well, inherited some property. I didn't know till later on in life, what type of portfolio he was working with, but he used to have me do a lot of hard work with him, and his main thing teaching me when I was working, it was like, you can make money the hard way, with your hands, or you can make money with your brain. It was just different because growing up in New York, you had to work. Construction was under OSHA, and I was young at the time because he worked. He was like the top dude for construction at a correction facility. He ran the whole thing as far as the build out of certain things. So he was able to get me my first high paying job, and that was a thing. It was like I worked that summer with him.
And so walk them through what was you getting paid to be? What's a high paying job when you're a kid?
I was making $100-something an hour.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
That is a high paying job.
As a kid.
Yeah, I mean, teenager, OSHA, I was, for me and, a lot of my peers wasn't seeing that kind of money.
Bruh,
definitely not.
We're around the same age people, remember the minimum wage right now is maybe $14.
Yeah, man, I was getting $100-something. It was crazy.
And how old were you?
I think I was, had to be 17, 18.
Bro, I was making $5.75 at KFC around that time frame, bro.
Man,
bro, look, I had my trials and tribulations. I was in CVS. I was working the stock in the basement and stuff like that. But that job was the job that really was opened my eyes to when I was working at CVS and all those other jobs. It was more so I'm young. I'm just trying to get a paycheck so I can, do my own things and not have to really rely on my dad and shit.
Yeah.
But that job my uncle gave me, he always had me work with my hands and try to understand how stuff worked. And I appreciate him now. I wish I would have stuck with it a little bit more, right? But that's kind of how he laid his foundation as far as trying to teach me how to kind of become a man. And I was making some good money. I was making some good money, bro. I was working on... That's when you needed a skill or a trade.
You still do.
Still do.
Those things are still leverageable, man.
I was working in the Jefferson projects in Manhattan, and they pretty much had to renovate a lot of the apartment units, and that's the first time I told you I always around real estate, but didn't really realize.
And it's just starting to hit now.
Right? So I'm young, I'm going there, and they got their teams. They got people pulling out floors, moving radiators out, and he just pretty much every morning he would just assign me to a different group of dudes. Dang. And I'm talking about some heavy shit. I'm talking about they pulling up cinder blocks and all types of wood all the way up with the crane. Dudes is hanging off the side of the building.
It's basically borderline construction.
And I'm like, Jesus. It was sometimes I was just hiding around the building because I didn't want to be hanging out the window and stuff. You know what I mean? But it was a cool experience, man. And when I got that check, bro, I was like, damn.
Them trying to checks change who you are, man.
I'll put it to you like this, right? I was still trying to do, the party promoting with a group of dudes I was dealing with. So let's say that money I was getting, when I was able to go walk into that establishment and they told me I had to buy the bar out and whatever else, and I put down $6-7 grand without it was just
no help.
Let's do it. Everybody was looking at me like I was selling packs or something. You know what I mean, bro? I was like, nah, bro, this is sweat equity right here. But that, I would say, that had more of an impact on me than the little bit of bread I made, playing and stuff like that, because it was I understood like what he was doing in that moment. And it hit me when I went to my first semester of college, because I did that before I went to college, the summer before going to college or whatever. And I'm like, damn, man, it's just different ways to make money. It's different levels to it. And even if people look at it like you working hard with your hands, some people might think because you work construction jobs, you don't use your brain, but you got to have a certain type of certificate and qualifications to be able to get to that money and then also be a part of the union at that time. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely an eye opener. And then when I went to go get my, do my taxes and stuff, and that money I got back, I was like, damn, I was really caking over there, bro. I was caking. If I would have stayed in New York, I probably would have been working under him. I'm not going to lie to you. If anything else didn't work out, I probably went back over there, finished up whatever I had to do skill-wise so I could be more of a value, and then probably work my way into getting my first property. It probably would have happened faster if I would have stuck around with Uncle Steve. I ain't going to lie to you.
So then go ahead and walk them through what it's like missing some of those things. And I've told many stories where I'm like, yo, I missed so many things that were happening in rooms that I was invited in. And you just go back, you say, man, that was going on. They wanted me to see it, but I couldn't see it.
Chasing, man, chasing. At that point, man, direction all over the place. Shout out to my dad, he got his master's degree, had, always moving around, trying to put us in a better situation. So I was bounced around family members at the time. And Uncle Steve was married to my dad's sister, my aunt. And, he was really trying to pave the way, but through hard work, you know what I mean? And at that time, I wasn't really receptive to it. I just wanted it. Mm-hmm. All right. So I think that's one of those eye-opening situations where he was paving the way and laying down the bricks of foundation. And I was so busy consumed in the world I wanted to live in that I wasn't getting the nuggets that he was dropping. I probably was making things harder than they needed to be. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to be around my friends. I wanted to chase. I wanted to hoop because it was cool. I wanted to do all of that stuff. And to be honest, I was a late bloomer with everything. So I really didn't really identify with too many things. I just was like, man, shit, is this going to keep me out the house, going to keep me moving around? I did so, you know what I mean? So if I would have, been a little bit more of I say more, not so much of following, and just sitting back and really observation is key. Yeah. If I was more so intertwined with that and being able to see that, identify that, I probably would have made way better decisions. Not saying I didn't bounce back, because everything about me is solution based, with experience. But those early years could have defined a whole lot of stuff for me, man, if I would have stayed in New York City, because that was the best route for me to possibly go down. I would probably been working out, trying to still do the hoop thing, and then being in tip top shape. And then probably would have had that conversation with Uncle Steve, and Uncle Steve would have been like, yo, this is what you need to do. If you don't do this, I got to hold you accountable. And if you can't do this, then, I can't extend the olive branch to you much longer. You know what I mean? But that was the most money I've made working any kind of job dealing with him, because he wanted me to see what the top pay looked like and what he could do, you know what I mean? In those situations, and what you could do with that type of money if you stack your coins right and do what you're supposed to do. Critical. Especially in New York City. New York is expensive. So making that kind of money at that age, and then let's say I would have been there, worked
people
on
at
every project.
People at 30 can't make $100 an hour right now.
For real.
Bro, it was crazy, bro. Crazy. It was great money, bro. It was great money. I was like, Oprah, you get a car, you get 100, you get a C note. What we doing? Where we going?
Oh man.
Like, I got it.
I got it.
So somewhere though, even if you double back, even with like, I got to see Uncle Steve here recently. I really made more sense when you went back home. You say, okay, kind of started as an entrepreneur in some form or fashion as a kid, then turn around, had a little, the foo-foo jobs. We all did that. And then turn around and I paved my own way after coming out of sports and building a business, man. What was it like the first time you made $1 off of, I think you told me the story of just a real estate merger where you just had two people call each other and boom, somebody gave you a check.
Bro, it was, all right, so a lot of people are different. A lot of people are more, calm, cool, and collective. They're more steadfast in the journey. But man, when I made that dot, I kind of was starting to realize the power of connections.
Oh yeah.
And having like is it a Rolodex? What is it called?
Yeah.
Rolodex of like clients and stuff. I realized how powerful that shit was, man. Like I got like a crazy adrenaline rush because I worked, but I was in the confinements of the crib. You know what I mean? And just connecting dots. And then went out and it just started off with a conversation. I was like, oh, wow, this is how this happened. And then until this day, man, I'm still cool. You know, that dude kind of took me under his wing and, you know, we started different projects. But that was probably like one of the most exciting situations because I'm just now starting to see how money works and connections work and just having the right people around you and just being able to get out your comfort zone.
What do you think is more valuable, having money or having connections?
I feel I feel having connections is the most valuable thing because the right connection can change the situation drastically. And it's still with consistency, right? Of you just doing the, you know, people got to double down on communication. And like you said, just being a little bit more confident and assertive, knowing how to implement yourself in certain conversations, knowing what to listen for. But if you're not really trying to home in on your craft of just being in the now and being aware, you're not going to know when to chime in and, you know, hear that entry point for you to, you know, introduce yourself or the idea that you got going on. But definitely feel that the connections are way, you know, the connections can get you to the money for sure.
And, you know, I was watching the Earn Your Leisure guys, and they were talking about how, you know, basically I think Tyler Perry met with Tyler Perry, and then Tyler Perry met him with this other dude. Next thing you know, they basically have access to $250 million and some other stuff, all because of one person who knew a person who knew a person. And because of the things that they've done, talk about consistency and getting up, talking about finance, bettering your financial outcome by, you know, being educated on where to put your money, even when in terms of investment. So what are some things from a father's standpoint that you want to make sure your son acquires character-wise, and even skills, trade, or potentially learning how to do business, because he's not too far from the age in which that first check kind of opened up your perspective. But at the same time, as I tell people, at 12 years old, my grandfather said clarity is the most important thing between two men, and it's always stuck. Whatever you do, Trev, be clear. He said they might not like you, but if you clear, they got to move on. They've got to move on if they can't deal with you, and that's stuck like glue to this day. So when you're looking at where you were, where your son's at, where you want him to land, and just giving him the best opportunities possible, what are some things that you're going to do to ensure he too gets the chances? And mind you, you're doing it. For those that can't see, Jamahl. We're going to keep getting into his story, and you know, just sharing some things that hopefully inspire y'all to do a little bit more, or a little bit better, and keep an open mind, to say the least. But what are some things that you want to make sure your son has as he continues to go through this thing called life?
Most important thing is a village, a true village. Me coming up and just trying to figure things out. Sometimes you go down the path of shying away from the village because you're just you're searching for other things. Sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. But the main thing with my son is just making sure I'm building a village of dope people that he can learn from, and like you said, being clear, confident, and meaningful and intentful with his actions, and, you know, making sure he understands what he's doing. I'm a little hard on him with about character and morals, because those are going to open up a lot of doors for him as well. You know what I'm saying? So clarity, confidence, but those clarity and everything else comes with, you know, starting planting that mustard seed of faith, right? And then he's going to be confident in actions and everything that he does. So my thing right now is just making sure I'm diversifying as far as putting him in just different groups, hanging out with different people, learning different people's culture, just shocking him with how things work or operate. And every time I pick him up, you know, we're talking, he's like, oh man, I learned about this culture's holiday and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, majority of your friends come from different backgrounds, you know what I mean? So like when you go to their houses, watch how they operate. They might not operate like how they operate in this house, right? And he's been doing that and seeing that, and it's been like real interesting for him to see how everybody kind of maneuvers in their day to day. Like, he go play with, and I'm not trying, no disrespect, I'm not trying to say the wrong context or whatever, but like some of the Indian kids and the Korean kids or whatever, when they come in this neighborhood, the first thing they go do before they go outside is majority of them go work out. I mean, not work out, but they go do their studies, right?
Yeah.
Knock their studies out. To them going home and having like an extra tutor or whatever the case would be, that's normal. For them to try to get ahead, do what they got to do. A lot of kids go to this Kumon Center around the corner so they could just excel in what they're doing. I've been picking up on those habits and, just trying to get him as much nourishment as possible. You know what I mean? So he could just be real confident in anything he's doing, and very big on comprehension. So comprehension is going to kind of set him over the hoop. You know what I mean? And, just exposing him to as much as possible. I read that there was like this financial literacy camp for kids.
Oh man!
And I was like, damn,
What?
that shit is like $10,000 a kid.
Jesus.
But you just imagine the type of information they're probably getting. You know what I mean?
In your case, from a networking standpoint, imagine the type of parents you get to meet.
Exactly.
That's the part you go,
what I mean?
look, I didn't spend 10 bands for the kid. I spent 10 bands because it put me in a different society.
Man, so like I tell people all the time, like one of my homeboys went back to New York. It's funny, I think he has his own podcast out there too. But when we were hooping and stuff and like going through our ups and downs, his line was, no matter what, no matter when, wherever you niggas go, I will be right there. Like that was him. That was his mantra, saying that, yo, I'm not gonna get left behind. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep doing this grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even though at the time when we felt like he wasn't, like he was tough, but we didn't feel like he was like with us. that fire that he had to just be associated and just be around, like that shit kind of rubbed off on all of us in a different way. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the same thing. With when I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna play chess and orchestrate Micah's moves and my moves, to be able to connect the dots and make sure if I can't connect them, it's like, I sacrifice myself to put myself in a position where somebody else could pour into him, you know what I mean, or a different environment can. Just shocking him, you know what I mean? And then obviously at the end of the day, being grounded with the family and hearing their story, which was cool when I went back home, hearing their story from where they started at and what they always had and what they always built on, kind of doing what a lot of people are setting out to doing, just not really understanding the magnitude that they had when they were doing it at that time was pretty cool too. So
Eye-opening.
yeah, it's eye-opening, man.
So what do you think is going to be the way in which you make your last dollar?
Damn. I don't know, man. I just hope it's abundant, though.
But guys, look, we wanted to cover, again, making your first dollar. I know it's like the first time I made my first dollar, and sometimes it might just be $1. But if you can make $1, you can make $2. And then from there, it's really no telling. And you have to work backwards and try to figure out how to continue to acquire your customer. Would you say that, let me see, I don't want to phrase this. For one, I want to harp back on that village for 2 seconds, because even I was telling Jamarcus the other day about the importance of growing in general. And part of that growing is being supportive of the people you're in the company with. So what does that mean? I come back one night and Mike asked me to help him with the Legos, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man.
He's been plotting.
Yeah. But mind you, I got the Legos so he could put them together and just continue to focus on, having direction even sometimes, because I know it helped me. And it still does to this day. I still build them to this day. But when, this guy says something about a village, man, there are a lot of prideful, egotistical men when it comes to how others involve themselves in the child's upbringing, per se. And one thing I do know, just off my own experiences, Jamahl will fall back and ask for help. And, the same way his son's learning the same thing. Like, yo, can you help me out? And I'm like, man, I didn't learn to ask for help till it was kind of later in life.
Yeah.
And by that time, it really makes you uncomfortable. I said, if he learns this early to ask for help, he really can achieve anything. Because the minute we start thinking we know everything is the minute we kind of box ourselves in, right? We start failing ourselves, and then we start really fucking up. When somebody and you said it was Uncle Steve, right?
Yeah.
He could streamline a whole thing just by saying, "I'll just do this," because he's got the experience. And even Tyler Perry says when he gets certain network deals, he'll call Oprah. She says, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a deal I did back in '84." You go, okay, perfect. If it worked for you, then I'm definitely going to walk down that road. So
It's crazy though, because it's like once you kind of get the foundation of all of that stuff, and then it's like, certain conversations you could take it, and now you're educated, you can also enhance and upgrade, right? So it's like we talking, and he's like, man, how's the real estate market down there, kid? And I'm like, well, it's not like the real estate market you're used to, you know what I mean? But in New York, it's fucking probably even worse right at the moment, right? So he was making a joke. He was like, so what's the how's the weather down there when when it snows and stuff? I'm like, the whole damn Texas shuts down. He was like, man, the problem is, he puts that voice on. The problem is, kid, these people don't know how to drive out there in Texas. No disrespect to the Texans, right?
They can't drive. That's the truth.
He's like, when that snow hits the road, they're not fully equipped. But meanwhile, you got dudes in New York driving these tow trucks and these snowplow machines and stuff like that. I'm talking about reversing, backing up, all-wheel drive, knowing what they're doing. He was like, you'll make a killing out there, kid, just having somebody from out there come out here and just rack up everything on the street. I was like, damn, I share this idea, but you know what I mean? That's a gem right there. But
it's difficult too because Texas also doesn't like ruining its road. So trust me, it's funny bringing it up because I thought about it too. And this is the first time, like he said, this is the first time I'm hearing him say something. But they use sand versus salt. And just like I'm from Kansas City. So in Kansas City, we get 2 or 3 feet of snow sometimes.
Man.
Thick. So, I mean, ice storms, whole tree, but we can drive in the snow.
Yep.
I didn't drive in the snow plenty of times because normally you'll wake up, depending on what part of town you're in, and your streets will be clear. It's just a thing. Here, the whole time it snowed, I ain't see one snow truck.
Nope.
Only thing they was doing was dropping sand. So you go, they don't want to treat the roads like it is a snow-based place because it will mess the roads up. And, we already pay to drive on all the tolls. Basically, it ain't really no toll that don't cost no money. The George Bush in Dallas will hit you over the head every day. So point is he definitely right. Definitely big opportunity. But then you probably got to go through something else trying to get them to approve you having a truck that could do this, and that.
yeah.
I was like, man, ain't nobody cleaning these trucks because like you said, when it snows here, nobody moves because nobody's doing no cleaning either.
As this man is driving from Rochester back to New York City and the storm is about to happen or snow is already falling on the ground. Aggressive driver, by the way.
Hey, look, if you ain't been in snow in a while, you like, boy, you be tripping. You be like, boy, we gonna die. And don't hit no black ice. It's a wrap.
Oh, man.
Well, guys, look, we'll dive back into making the first dollar and what that looks like. It's the point I think of his story, and the irony is you said you was 18.
Yeah.
About 17, 18.
18, yeah.
When he started making $100 an hour, guess what? I was roughly about 23, 24 when the guy told me, I said, well, how much you guys gonna pay me? And he's like, oh, we'll pay you $100 an hour and then $150 on the days you're off if somebody calls you. I go, really?
Yeah.
I said, that's crazy. That was my epiphany.
It was a big thing, bro, because it's like, even when my aunt was trying to put me on, she didn't want to put me on. And shout out to my dad, too. My dad is, whenever we do lock in, he's like, man, look, you can't bring everybody to the water with you. You can't mess up your resources to try to help people that don't want to be helped, right?
Imagine bringing everybody to the water, they drink all the water, be like, man, that water was supposed to last a week.
But I could admit, man, like me just being in my own head, in my own ways, trying to do what I want to do. I was that person too, you know what I mean? So it's like, my aunt's like, yo, I don't think you ready for this job, man. It's like, because she's pretty much trying to be like, yo, you want to go to school, try to do JUCO, so hopefully you go to D1 and all this other stuff when you like, just go to school, get a trade, man, and start your life off on this. But you got to remember, coming from the Caribbeans, coming from Jamaica, it's about security. It's about security, man. I told you my story about my family, how they, what they came from and how they started and, the fight to get out here and get established. So you saying that you want to become or try to become a professional, anything, is just like, what? You know what I mean? But yeah, she always knew what Steve really had, what Uncle really had access to, but knew I wasn't ready for it. But he always tried to poly for me, man, and get me, I'm talking about, like I said, I used to go to the house in Connecticut, just do a whole bunch of like hands-on work, man, and always complain, but he always paid me well. You know what I mean?
That's why he kept going back because the money was right.
I was like, I had no choice. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I had to just go do it, but he always paid me well. But he always wanted to show me the difference in labor, versus trying to be someone that I would say an architect of the mind. Trying to create a system to where you don't got to get your hands dirty as much, but you could fall in and out operations or be able to get dirty building your own situation. Right? That's how he is. So I appreciate all that shit, man, because it molded me into a lot of the things we're going to learn from him. My pops, Uncle Norm, all of them dudes, man, they all played a part, and that's why I'm like, damn, you know, when you're away from family and out here, and you talk about the village, it's like at this point, you know, I mean, making sure whoever's around me could play a part, not even if not for me. That Micah wakes up and sees, he's like, he always see consistency. He always see something going on. You know what I mean? He's like, damn.
Sure.
And he's a busybody just like I was. So he's getting stimulated in different ways. He just it's just about getting him to the point where he can start to home in on it and start having that same kind of energy on whatever his task is in front of him to do, which is, you know, he's starting to come into himself. So it's cool.
You know, we'll close it out with this one too, because I just say Rich one time was fussing at one of his kids, and he goes, "You see this nigga Trevor every day with Fit Bully on down here doing with these dogs, and you ain't asked one time." He was like, he was terrorizing one of his kids. But point is when your kid sees, if you let, you know, as I said, I live here with Jamahl and Cap. You let a lazy nigga in, it's draining. It is draining when people ain't doing shit with their lives, especially if you want your child or anybody to see positivity. Micah see us outside with the dogs. He see us coming and going. He sees, I mean, he literally walked in with me. We building Legos. Hell, we've all jumped on the Nintendo DS together and played.
He's hovering over my shoulder when I'm editing all the time.
Fortnite,
He's on Fortnite with us sometimes. You know, you go down the line, there's a lot happening. Sometimes he'll ask, "Yo, can I play with you?" I say, "Yeah, go ahead. Sign in. Let me know when you in, man." I said, if you die, though, you can't come back. You gotta kick off the team.
You need at least bare minimum 5 kills.
You get about 5 kills off from your buddy. So, you know, and mind you, I'm very goal-driven, and I think it's important to set goals, even for, you know, the anybody I come in contact with. So I'll give them a couple pages. Hey, let's see if we can get to this number tonight. And, you know, the other night, you got through about 10 steps. On one of the Legos that were, you know, I got him building per se. And as I said, Jamarcus will help him build that desk, and we're going to record it. So he's going to have a YouTube coming soon. And, you know, he's asked if he can build a podcast. I said, "Now you can't speak up." So I appreciate Jamahl for, one, allowing us into his home, for 2, jumping on this podcast. Clearly, he's getting more and more open, which is good, because this is an opportunity to connect. Believe it or not, these things are leverageable. All the stuff, the dogs, the content, what he does in real estate, what he does with offer credit, what he does in general, what he does for his friends, what he's learning and doing with business. You go down the line, all this stuff is scalable, and we're going to get into it, people. There's a lot happening all the time. And I don't know if I can even keep up with it. And sometimes I was like, I don't even know what's happening. but it's happening. So stay tuned. We got a couple more episodes we got to shoot today. But for now, people, look, what was it like when you made your first dollar? What did that dollar do for you? And did it open your mind to becoming just a worker bee? Or did you actually say, you know what, I want to go make money for me, and I don't want to, you know, just be some employee one day, people? Take care of your credit and good luck.